Hey there, and thank you for watching. In this video, I'm going to show you my presentation, which I did at the conference at the UNESCO office here in Venice. And after that presentation, I'm going to actually go ahead and read my paper that was published in the conference proceedings. That way you can get a full picture of what my presentation was about. And so I'm going to go ahead and roll that beautiful conference footage, and then I'll be reading from this. So thanks for watching.
Today I'll be sharing my journey into the groundbreaking use of artificial intelligence in translating and preserving Sikh scripture. My project is titled Encoding the Divine. It's about bridging centuries-old religious history with state-of-the-art technology. The Guru Granth Sahib is the central text in Sikhism. It's a unique text revered as the eternal living Guru by many. Its teachings are universal, emphasizing devotion, justice, and unity. However, linguistic and cultural barriers have made it inaccessible to many. This is where AI has proven to be a transformative tool, helping bridge these gaps while respecting the sanctity of the text. Although, despite its universal teachings, the Guru Granth Sahib remains inaccessible to many due to the complexity of its language. It was written in Gurmukhi script, and it incorporates multiple dialects and languages from the 15th and 16th centuries. This complexity, coupled with the depth of its poetic cadence and spiritual message, possess a significant challenge for translators. Traditional translations have often failed to capture the nuance and rhythm of the original, and AI presents an opportunity to address these challenges, but only when used thoughtfully and collaboratively with a human. So far, my journey began by learning Gurmukhi and immersing myself in the theological and cultural depths of Sikh teachings. While I initially worked manually, as AI technology evolved, I realized its potential as a collaborative tool. My first translation was a text called the Zafarnama, or the Letter of Victory, originally written in Persian. It was translated into several languages, which I used along with Dari speakers and no AI at the time. AI's ability to process and translate vast amounts of text quickly seemed promising. However, I knew that any translation process must honor the spiritual depth and poetic cadence of the scripture. This required a balance between technological efficiency and human insight. AI is not a replacement for human translators. Rather, it is a collaborator. Generative AI models like ChatGPT 4.0 help navigate complex linguistic patterns, while a human expert ensures the translation respects the spiritual intent. The AI generates initial drafts, which I rigorously refine. The iterative process has yielded translations that are both accessible and faithful to the original. It has been particularly effective in retaining contextual accuracy and emotional resonance. The process begins by breaking down the scripture into manageable sections. I input these into the AI model, review its output, and compare it to the original text and other existing translations. Each translation undergoes multiple cycles of refinement, balancing AI's efficiency with human expertise. This iterative approach ensures that the translated text retains its poetic structure, cultural nuance, and spiritual message. Ethical considerations. Using AI for sacred text raises important ethical questions. How do we ensure that the translations respect the spiritual essence of the scripture? To address this, I established clear guidelines of how AI interacts with these texts. Human oversight remains indispensable. The process ensures that translations are culturally and spiritually appropriate, balancing AI strengths with the human ability to interpret complex theological concepts. The results have been promising. AI's ability to retain poetic rhythm and stylistic elements has been impressive, but it struggles with archaic and culturally specific terms. Human involvement is crucial in addressing these limitations. Together, AI and human expertise have refined what's possible in translating and preserving sacred texts. This collaborative process has not only improved accessibility, but also fostered a deeper connection to the text's teachings for many who are unable to read Gurmukhi. This is evidenced by high sales and positive feedback by the Sikh scholars and those who are also new to the texts. This project is not just about translating scripture, it's about ensuring that sacred teachings remain accessible and meaningful in the digital age. AI has the potential to be a powerful tool for cultural preservation when used thoughtfully and collaboratively. I'm deeply grateful for the intersection of tradition and technology, which has allowed us to bring the Guru Granth Sahib closer to people worldwide. So far, I've translated 4 different texts, and my future work includes a complete translation of the Guru Granth Sahib to be published in print worldwide, and that is a work of over 1,000 pages, so it might take me a while. But that is my presentation, and thank you so much.
Well, I certainly hope that you enjoyed that footage from the conference. I know the sound wasn't that great, but I was doing the best that I could, as the acoustics in the room were not wonderful. But nonetheless, here is the paper in full so that you can get a clear picture of what I talked about. And it's in this book. Okay, so let me go ahead and start reading. One. Introduction. The Guru Granth Sahib is one of the most revered texts in world religions, serving as both the holy scripture of Sikhism and the eternal living guru for Sikhs. Compiled by the Sikh gurus between 1604 and 1708, it is a comprehensive anthology that includes hymns, poetry, and teachings from not only Sikh gurus, but also saints from different faiths and backgrounds. Written primarily in Gurmukhi script, the text encompasses a variety of languages and dialects, including Punjabi, Sanskrit, Persian, and regional vernaculars. The Guru Granth Sahib is unique in its status as the final and perpetual guru, embodying the spiritual authority and wisdom of the 10 human gurus who preceded it. Its compositions address universal themes such as devotion to God, ethical living, social justice, and the unity of humanity, transcending cultural and religious boundaries. Despite its universal message, the Guru Granth Sahib remains inaccessible to many due to language barriers. The Gurmukhi script and archaic language present challenges for even native Punjabi speakers, and international audiences face even greater difficulties. Traditional translations often struggle to convey the poetic and page turn philosophical nuances, leading to potential misinterpretations or a loss of the text's intrinsic beauty. In the digital age, however, there is an unprecedented opportunity to preserve and disseminate sacred texts globally. Digitalization aids in both preservation and interactive engagement with scriptures, but it must ensure that the sanctity and integrity of the texts are maintained. The emergence of artificial intelligence has revolutionized many fields, including language translation. Advanced AI models, particularly in the natural language processing, have demonstrated remarkable capabilities in understanding context, semantics, and even generating human-like text. Neural machine translation models have surpassed traditional statistical methods, offering more fluid and contextually appropriate translations. AI's potential to handle complex linguistic structures and low-resource languages make it a promising tool for translating texts like the Guru Granth Sahib. The ability of AI to process large databases allows it to recognize patterns and subtleties that might be overlooked by human translators. This paper aims to explore the integration of AI in translating and preserving Sikh scriptures. By leveraging AI as a generative tool, the research seeks to capture not only the literal meaning, but also the poetic essence and theological depth of the Guru Granth Sahib. The study underscores the importance of human-AI collaboration to ensure authenticity and respect for the sacred text, while also addressing ethical considerations of using AI in this context and proposing guidelines for responsible application. Author's journey. That's me. My journey into Sikh scripture translation began with a deep immersion into Gurmukhi script, developed by Guru Angad Dev Ji, the second Sikh Guru. Language is a vessel of culture and thought, so I dedicated significant time to learning Gurmukhi script and phonetics. This involved studying its letters, vowels, and grammatical structures, which are essential for accurate interpretation. So, a side personal note about that learning process, I can say that I started like a child in learning a language. I actually did go to the children's Gurmukhi classes at the local Gurdwara, and I did the children's homework along with them. At the same time, I was getting lessons from the Ragis at a different Gurdwara about not just the letters and the sounds, but also philosophy and the theories behind the scriptures. And I was taking another lesson that combined sort of both with a prominent theologian in the area of Phoenix, and he taught me a lot. Immersion is the best way to learn a language. So I went and lived in Amritsar for 6 weeks. I went back and stayed for 3 more weeks. I was scheduled to stay for 6 weeks that time, but the pandemic hit right in the middle of my stay, so I was forced to come back home. And then a couple of years later, I think, I went back for a month again. So that was a bit of immersion that helped me to learn the language and reading and writing the language specifically. Using multiple dictionaries, I engaged in textual analysis to comprehend the layers of meaning within the hymns. This foundational work was critical for understanding the complex interplay of language, culture, and theology in the scriptures. My first published translation was that of Zafarnama. At that time, the use of AI in translation work was not yet available, so I wasn't using AI to translate that. In addition to linguistic proficiency, it was vital to immerse myself in the theological concepts and cultural context embedded in the Guru Granth Sahib. The text is rich with metaphors, allegories, and references to historical events and cultural practices. I studied Sikh theology, philosophy, and history, exploring works by scholars to gain insight into Gurmat, the Guru's teachings. Concepts like the Nam, Hukam, and seva were central to accurate translation and interpretation. During my initial efforts, several challenges became apparent. The poetic structure of the hymns, with intricate rhyme schemes and rhymatic patterns, was difficult to replicate in another language without losing meaning or emotional impact. Additionally, the archaic language and regional dialects within the text presented obstacles to understanding and conveying the intended messages. This underscored the need for a more sophisticated approach to translation, one that could handle the complexities of the scripture while maintaining its poetic and theological integrity. My translation work continued as the development of AI, specifically ChatGPT, grew. Next section. Integration of artificial intelligence in translation. Recognizing the limitations of traditional methods, I turned to artificial intelligence to augment the translation process. Initial experiments with basic machine translation tools were inadequate due to their inability to grasp the context and nuance. However, the advent and advanced AI models like ChatGPT-3 and GPT-4, developed by OpenAI, marked a significant turning point for translation work overall. These models, built on transformer architectures, demonstrated an unprecedented ability to understand and generate human-like text. By leveraging them, it became possible to process the complex linguistic patterns of the Guru Granth Sahib. Rather than using AI solely for direct translation, I envisioned AI as a generative tool, a collaborator in the creative process. The AI has been, as of this day, unable to on its own recognize and replicate the poetic and philosophical styles of the scripture to produce translations that resonate with the same emotional and spiritual depth. Human collaboration is still necessary. Generative algorithms will hopefully be designed to respect linguistic and cultural nuances and techniques like reinforcement learning and fine-tuning, which should help the AI adapt to the specific style and vocabulary of the Guru Granth Sahib in the future. Methodology. The AI-generated translations were produced in segments for manageable review and refinement. I approached the translation process by copying and pasting small sections of the Guru Granth Sahib into the AI, focusing on maintaining both accuracy and readability. Each AI-generated output was compared not only to existing translations, but also to the original Gurmukhi script. I paid close attention to how each verse fit within the broader context of the work as a whole, ensuring that the philosophical and theological themes remain consistent throughout the translation. In order to refine the output, I would request an exact word-for-word translation from the AI to fully understand the nuances of the original text. This approach allowed me to glean deeper meaning from each verse, particularly where the subtleties of Gurmukhi language offered insights that might, turning the page, that might otherwise be lost in a purely literal translation. By analyzing these word choices, I could ensure that the translation remained faithful to the original intent. After reviewing the AI output, I made careful edits, refining the language to preserve theological accuracy, linguistic fidelity, and cultural appropriateness. The translated sections were formatted in a way that aligned with the overall structure of the Guru Granth Sahib, ensuring that the flow and integrity of the scripture were respected. This iterative process involved multiple cycles of AI generation and human editing, with each round feedback further enhancing the quality of the translation. Through this collaborative approach, the resulting translation reflects both the precision of AI and the thoughtful input of human interpretation. The AI-assisted translations showed significant improvement over traditional methods. The translations retained much of the poetic rhythm and stylistic elements of the original hymns, while conveying complex theological concepts effectively. Additionally, readers reported a strong emotional connection to the texts, indicating success in preserving the spiritual impact. Comparative analysis revealed advantages such as contextual accuracy, consistency, and efficiency, although the AI sometimes overemphasized poetic elements at the expense of clarity. However, challenges included handling archaic language and cultural references that required human intervention. These challenges highlight the need for continuous improvement of AI models and the indispensable role of human expertise in the translation process. The success of AI-assisted translation depends significantly on the proficiency of the translator in the target language. Translators must possess a deep understanding of both the source and target languages to ensure that the nuanced meanings of cultural contexts in the original text are accurately conveyed. Proficiency in the target language is essential for preserving the essence of the scripture and ensuring that the translation resonates with its intended audience, as opposed to being wrought with elementary grammatical errors as seen in many current translations. Next section, ethical considerations. The use of AI in translating sacred texts raises important ethical questions regarding the sanctity, cultural sensitivity, and authority. Sacred texts hold deep religious significance, and translating them is not just a technical task, but requires reverence and a deep understanding of their spiritual context. There is a concern that AI, lacking human consciousness, might unintentionally produce translations that fail to respect the sacredness of the text or offend religious sensibilities. Additionally, sacred texts are closely tied to the cultural and historical contexts in which they were written. While AI can process language, it may miss or misinterpret cultural nuances, leading to insensitive or inaccurate translations. Authority is another issue. Traditionally, sacred texts have been translated by scholars and religious leaders whose authority comes from years of study and spiritual insight. AI lacking this authority possesses questions about the legitimacy and trustworthiness of its translations. Given these challenges, it is essential that AI be used collaboratively with human translators and scholars to ensure translations are accurate, respectful, faithful to the text's cultural and spiritual significance. Ethical guidelines are necessary to govern the AI's role in this sensitive area. The integration of AI in translating portions of the Guru Granth Sahib resulted in translations that were remarkably faithful to the original's poetic and theological essence. By leveraging AI's ability to handle vast amounts of text while maintaining consistency in language and structure, I was able to generate translations that honored the rhythmic and devotional qualities inherent in the scripture. However, the human element was indispensable in ensuring that the deeper spiritual dimensions of the text were accurately conveyed. The synergy of AI and human expertise proved essential for achieving both the technical accuracy required for precise translation and the spiritual authenticity needed to respect the sanctity of the Guru Granth Sahib. This collaborative approach highlighted the strengths and limitations of AI in sacred translation work. While AI excelled in processing complex language patterns, it still struggled with the interpretation of archaic and page turn culturally specific terms that require a deeper understanding of the spiritual and historical context. The human role was crucial in guiding these subtleties, ensuring that the translation remained connected to the profound meaning of the original text. Future work in this area should focus on improving AI's ability to handle archaic language, especially when translating ancient scriptures or texts where traditional linguistic forms are prevalent. Additionally, expanding ethical frameworks for AI use in sacred context will be important to maintain respect for the spiritual significance of such works. This includes developing guidelines that ensure the sanctity and integrity of the text being preserved, and that the use of AI remains as a tool for enhancing understanding rather than replacing human interpretation. As AI continues to evolve, its potential to contribute to sacred translations could be transformative, but it must always be coupled with human insight and reverence for the text. So that is the paper that I wrote. I have four pieces translated and published. My ultimate goal is to have an entire translation of the Guru Granth Sahib published. That's my goal. It will take some time, but I'm getting there. And I started these translations on my own, simply for my own learning. And I thought that they should be shared with others because as I translated and learned the meanings, it helped me and it enhanced my appreciation and love for Sikhi. And as I mentioned before, many of the translations that I was reading had so many grammatical errors that it was difficult to concentrate on the meaning of the words. As well, the language was often sort of like King James language, trying to appeal to Protestants at the time. A lot of thous and thou and the, I don't know, just like if you've read the King James version of the Bible, you'll understand that that's how the Guru Granth Sahib was translated many times, and it sounds terrible. So I wanted to get away from that. And as you might know, Yogi Bhajan's crew also created a translation of the Guru Granth Sahib, in which there are, of course, many misrepresentations, references to Kundalini that weren't in the original, and was heavily influenced by his motivations. So that translation's also not good. So I really just did this for myself to have my own translation, and then decided to publish what I had created. And so far I have had good sales rates. My copies are the highest selling in the Western world. Can't compete with the Singh brothers over there in Amritsar, but maybe I'll get there. So far, proceeds or sales profits from those texts have gone to different charities. Currently, I'm sending money to a couple of different people in Ukraine to help out with the war effort. So if you buy a copy, then you can know that that money is actually going to a good cause as well. And hopefully you'll check them out, read them, and enjoy them as I enjoy them. And that's it for this video. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.